evening and good to have you with us on this edition of the Urban Debate. Viewers, tonight once again we discuss the COVID concern. In no uncertain ways has the central government now made it clear that the COVID situation in our country is going from bad to worse. And if we don't take steps now, we are going to be in trouble. India recorded over 56,000 fresh cases and 271 deaths in the last 24 hours. Of this, a large percentage comes from Maharashtra. 62% of the country's cases are coming from Maharashtra right now. Kerala contributes 4.7%, Punjab 4.58%, and then Karnataka about 4.4% as well. These are the worst hit states. But the center also said that even in the places where the cases are not high right now, you need to be careful and take steps now before things get worse. So ramp up testing, focus on the RT-PCR tests and do higher number of RT-PCR tests, prompt isolation, trace the close contacts of those infected, and strengthen the private as well as public healthcare system. Ensure that norms are followed and that there is higher vaccination, saturation of your vaccination in the badly affected areas when it comes to those who are eligible for it. These are the 7 key steps that the central government has asked these states to look into. States with 48 worst hit districts of our country right now. But tonight I want to talk about few specific angles. Tonight I want to talk about first, who is more vulnerable in this second wave? Everything that we know and learn from the first wave may not be the same this time around, and I'll tell you why. The second aspect that we will focus on is why this wave is more dangerous than what we saw earlier. And we'll have experts talking to us about that as well. And the third and the most important, what is the way forward from here on? The steps that the governments are taking, are those the correct steps? What else really needs to be done? Those are the 3 things that I'm going to focus on tonight. And we'll specifically also talk about Maharashtra. I mean, it is the COVID epicenter of the country with 62% cases coming in from just this one state. So let me say good evening first up to Mr. Nawab Malik, Minister of Minority Development, a Maharashtra State Minister, joining me right now. Thank you, Mr. Malik, for speaking with us. Mr. Malik, as the cases rise every day, 30,000, 40,000, the first question that everybody is asking is, what about our healthcare infrastructure? Do we have enough beds, ventilators, oxygen cylinders, all of that ready for the second wave?
See, till today, especially in Mumbai, Pune, Thane, major cities, we have ample health infrastructure. Beds are available, ventilators are there, but the way numbers are growing, it is somewhere we have to think about the situation. That's why some measures has been taken. Earlier, anybody can be admitted in any hospital. Now, what the center has been created by the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai, they had started no patient can be admitted directly to any hospital. They should go through the dashboard created by the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. This kind of a monitoring every district we had made. So till today there is no crisis of any health beds or oxygen or any other kind of a things. So we have adequate numbers of beds available, oxygen are there and ICU units are there. So till today there is no question of any worrying. But the way number is increasing, that's why some of the district where the health infrastructure was not proper, the district administration has taken a call. They had imposed lockdown, especially in some Vidarbha districts in Marathwada district, and the government has given right to the district administration that they can take a call. As far as Mumbai city is concerned or Pune is concerned, still there is no such kind of a panic situation, but precaution is required. Night curfew has been imposed in the entire state. People have to take precaution, otherwise situation will go out of hand. So there is no other way to take a call regarding the lockdown.
In fact, I wanted to ask you about that, Mr. Nawab Malik, because there is, we've been told that there is quite a bit of conversation within the government right now on what needs to be done. For 15 days, we are told we're exploring a partial lockdown where some amount of things will be shut down. Can you give us a sense of what is it that the state government is thinking about doing right now?
See, today the lockdown has been imposed in Aurangabad district. Parbhani there is lockdown, Nanded there is a lockdown, Bid there is a lockdown. So many of the districts there are lockdown because they cannot cope up, the number is rising and health infrastructure can be a problem in that district. That's why the district has been chosen to make some lockdown. As far as Mumbai is concerned, Pune is concerned, till today we can cope up with the number is coming. Asymptomatic patient, they are home quarantine. Symptomatic patient, we have an ample number of beds. So till today there is no question to imposing lockdown to the entire state. But the way number is increasing, the way input has been given by the health department of the central government, so we are preparing ourselves. Most of the hospitals were declared non-COVID. Now COVID ward has been preparing in the various municipal corporation hospital. Some of the private hospital, we said them that you have to create some COVID wards in your own hospital. So this kind of a preparation is there in the entire state of Maharashtra, and we are prepared. As earlier, that time we doesn't have any jumbo centers. The hospital were not equipped with to deal with the situation of COVID patient. So now and earlier it was a difference between that time and this time. This time we have a number of beds, oxygen beds are there, more preparation is there. Definitely in some time before, many of the staff has been released. So new recruitment has been started in various districts as well as in Mumbai city, COVID centers and other districts also.
Yes, and I ask you this question because, for example, in Mumbai, even in our peak time last year, we saw 2,800 to 3,000 cases. We are now looking at 7,000, 8,000 cases on an everyday basis. BMC is preparing for 10,000 cases per day. Now, that obviously means a lot of load, not just on your healthcare infrastructure, but also staff. Do we have adequate staff for COVID, non-COVID, and vaccination services?
So that's why I said the new recruitment has been started. Some temporary people were recruited at that time when the COVID cases were high. Then people were thinking that now it is reducing, so many of them have been released. Now orders have been issued to the jumbo COVID centers or private hospitals, they have to recruit. But Jumbo COVID Center and Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai, they had started to recruit more manpower equipped with the COVID centers, and definitely the number of beds available in the Mumbai city today, we can cope up the situation.
Okay. Mr. Nawab Malik, the other part, yes, the government so far has taken steps like the night curbs, lockdowns in few of the cities, but in the bigger cities like Pune and Mumbai, we're looking at night curbs at this point. What happens next? Why don't we look at staggering the office timing so that lesser people are traveling on public transport? We are given to understand that we are looking at reducing the availability of public transport or the timings of it. But why don't we look at staggering our office timings instead?
And we already said in Mantralaya also 50% people are allowed to, they doesn't have to come to the Mantralaya. Alternate day duties has been made, and some of the people are allowed to work from the home as far as the government offices is concerned. Corporate also, we had said them that you must curtail the number of the office people are attending, they have to work from their home. this kind of order should be issued by you people, and one formula in various department of Martarale, they have changed their working hours. Some people are coming 9 o'clock in the morning, then this duties has been segregated, and I think the private companies or private establishment have to do something in this manner. Definitely, if people can do this mechanism in their offices, the rush and traffic in the local train or private buses or BST buses can be reduced. So it is advised to the people. Definitely we doesn't have any kind of order through the government, but it was advised to the people that they can change their office hours, so the rush in the train and the BST buses can be reduced.
Okay. There has been quite a bit of speculation about the parties not being on the same page within the Agadi government. Would you say that the NCP definitely is of a stronger opinion that lockdown should be the last option, even though Shiv Sena may want to go for it right away?
See, it is a last option. Till the time we have an infrastructure, health infrastructure, which can be cope up with the numbers getting positive cases in the city like Mumbai, Pune or other major cities. So we have to wait for some time. If number is increasing, the shortfall will be there definitely, then it is a problematic situation. Then there is no option to take a call for entire Maharashtra to lock down. But we are hoping that the people in the city of Mumbai or bigger city or the state of Maharashtra, they are cooperating with the state. Night curfew has been imposed. People are accepted the night curfew. Many of the wedding ceremonies, people has been cancelled. So we hope that people are cooperating with the state of Maharashtra, and definitely when the people cooperate or people take precaution, the number can be reduced.
Okay, the last aspect I wanted to ask you, Mr. Nawab Malik, is on the vaccination front. Now, Maharashtra does have a high number of people who've been vaccinated, but we're also a very large state, and we're also the state with 60% of India's COVID cases. So we need to be faster. Now, has the state government taken this up with Centre to say, allow us to bring in more private hospitals, give us more doses, change the policy, let more people in worst hit areas be allowed to take the vaccination?
See, what we had done, we had increased the number of vaccination centers. Earlier, government hospital or with medical colleges, we were allowed to implement the vaccination program. Now, every government hospitals has been given permission where the 20 beds hospitals are there. They can start the COVID vaccination program in that hospital. We had demanded to the center the age limit of 60 to be reduced up to 45. That has been accepted by the central government. We had asked them to give us permission that if you cannot provide more number of vaccine to the state of Maharashtra, give us permission. We have a Hopkins Institute which can produce this vaccination. So we are hopeful. If they give us the permission, then Hopkins will start the production of this vaccination, and more vaccination will be there. And definitely we are trying our level best to increase the center for vaccination. Definitely, as you know, the number of vaccination in the country, number one, Maharashtra is number one. We are increasing day by day more centers to give vaccination to the people of Maharashtra.
Yes, for example, and a lot of this also has to do with vaccination hesitancy. We may have centers in a few places, but not enough people are coming out there. But can we ask, do you think the state government can ask the center to allow us door-to-door vaccination? Why can't we take our camps to the residential places where higher cases are being reported?
See, till today they have not allowed door-to-door vaccination. The issue has been discussed in the last cabinet. Why not we can go for door-to-door vaccination or camps in the societies or the villages or some areas where the people can come easily, and this can be done as many of the camps are organized. So till today they had not allowed us. They had made some kind of a SOP. We are following them. As we get the permission from the center, that this SOP is there, you can go for door-to-door vaccination. Definitely, as they permit, we can start.
But we've not separately asked them, requested them so far, right?
No, we are asking that the vaccination should be made more to the people of the state of Maharashtra. We want to increase. Earlier they had said only government hospital, bigger hospital. Then they said 50-bedded hospital. Then they said 20-bedded hospital. Now primary health center can be also used for this. The beds can be available, or 2-3 beds can be made at primary health center also. We had made requests. If they allow us, definitely we want to increase the vaccination program. If they cannot provide the vaccine to the state of Maharashtra as number is required, we are asking, give the permission to the Afghan Institute. They can produce the vaccine. So a lot of people can be vaccinated in the state of Maharashtra.
Okay, Mr. Nawab Malik, thank you so much for joining us and taking all of my questions. We hope that the center actually also looks at some of the other options for more vaccination doses and, maybe even allowing door-to-door vaccination, because Maharashtra definitely needs it. Thank you for joining us. Well, let's now open it up to the panelists who are joining us right now this evening. And I say good evening to Dr. Naresh Trehan, Chairman and MD of Medanta, who's joining us this evening. Dr. Sanjay Pujari, Director, Institute of Infectious Diseases of Pune, member of the National COVID Task Force. Dr. T.P. Lahane, Director of Medical Education and Research in Maharashtra. And Dr. Abhay Shukla, National Co-Convener of the Jan Swasthya Abhiyan. Now, as I told our viewers in the beginning, we're going to look at 3 different parts. The first one being who is getting impacted more this time around. Dr. Pujari, we've been speaking to some other experts as well. If you can shed some more light on it, is it now a bigger trend that those between the age of 20 to 40 or 45 are actually, we are seeing higher number of cases in that age group?
So we are seeing a shift in the age pattern of people who are getting infected. Certainly, the proportion of individuals who are young are the proportion is increasing. But at the same time, having said that, if you actually look at admissions and severe illness, it is still the elderly, still people with comorbidities who are as impacted as the young people. So I don't think that we should be thinking that it's predominantly involving the young. Of course, the proportion is more, but there is a significant proportion of elderlies also who are coming to our hospitals and getting admitted with severe disease.
Okay, and what could be the possible reasons to this? Dr. Pujari, let's start with you and then I take it to our other panelists. Is it simply because this age group would be more mobile, would be stepping out more for work and other purposes?
Yeah, obviously, because as the unlockdown happened and people started to get back to work, and also at the same time, people started coming to gyms and theaters and closed congregated settings and malls and all those kind. These are frequented by young people mostly, rather than the adults. So obviously, you're going to see a peak in infection rate happening to these young people. So I think it is upward mobility, and many of these young people tended to gather in closed settings, and that is something which is more dangerous than really being out in the open in groups. Having parties in closed settings, attending pubs, things like that in urban areas have predominantly caused this involvement of this young group.
Well, I don't know about other cities where it's still allowed, but definitely in most Maharashtra cities now, that's not going to be happening with night curbs in place from 8 p.m. But perhaps one of the biggest reasons for this spread as well. Dr. Naresh Trehan, what's your view? Is this a trend we're looking at across the country? And I only want to emphasize on this because there is this mindset that young logon ko kuch nahi hota hai. So it's okay for us to get out and play Holi like there is no tomorrow.
So what Dr. Pujari was saying and what you're saying is all correct to a certain level. The point what happened was that if you look at the waves that have come, first it was the clusters in big cities that we saw many areas and crowded residential areas that it spread in buildings and things like that. Now what has happened is that since the numbers were coming down, people kind of threw caution to the wind and started doing bigger weddings, bigger parties, bigger indoor space interactions. So when this happens, there is a natural consequence that whenever there will be exposure, there will be the spread. So we keep reminding people, the numbers are coming down, but the virus is still there. So there is no justification in throwing caution to the wind and saying, now we are free. No, we are not. So one thing that the youth feels is that, look, even if we get it, there know many people who got it and got better, so it's not going to affect us. But they don't realize they are the ones who are infecting their elderly. They all have parents at home. They all have grandparents at home. They go home and they infect them. And that's what the trend that we are seeing now, that the younger group that is going out and partying in large numbers is infecting their household elderly. And they are the ones who are getting sick. The hospital is getting filled up with those people, the ones with comorbidities, the ones who are now going, ICUs are getting full. So I think that this is a very serious situation. We can talk about it, we can say what happened, where, what. I'll tell you, we should go back without the lockdown. So there are three parts. The public must understand their responsibility in trying to save themselves, their elderly, and the nation at large. If they do not behave themselves at this stage, things are going to get worse. And we believe from around the world, the information is coming, and seems to be showing here also in India, that this wave is more infective. It spreads easier. It may be less deadly. That's a good thing that if not the mortality is going to be low. But that does not mean that we allow it to take us over. So the second part is the vaccination part, which we are all talking about. Now, whatever the limitations may be with the availability of number of doses, but there has been in every category, only 50 to 60% of the people actually came up for vaccination. The rest of the people are still hesitant or whatever they feel that they don't need it, but we need to encourage that on a daily basis because ultimately when enough people get vaccinated, the herd immunity will develop. So we have enough people who have been infected already, knowingly or unknowingly, their antibodies are up. The ones we are vaccinating, they are developing antibodies. So this process is on, except that we need to vaccinate the next 20, 30 crore people. And the more we ramp up, like when we are talking about going up to 50 lakhs a day, then we will be able to actually do more. Now, the other strategy the government is talking about, which is very right, is the fact that the areas where outbreaks are happening, let's actually push a lot more there also. So I think all these things is the right direction, but unfortunately, because people prematurely started going out too much, the COVID appropriate behavior was not there, that this has started spreading badly. Even if we go back to it, back to being cautious and being diligent about it, I think we can slow it down, we can get ahead of it.
Yes, I mean, as long as we do all of these things and you know, that I think is the key. Now, while one part of the country and states like Maharashtra may be at least now seriously talking about it, looking at restrictions, there is this whole different part of the country which is in another political election mode where no steps, no precautions of any kind are being taken. I don't even think they're testing or doing any kind of surveillance anymore anywhere. So we don't know what the reality there is. But Maharashtra, for now, seems to be the biggest challenge. Now, who is most vulnerable? This time around, higher number of cases in 20 to 40 age group, even though, of course, there the fatality isn't as high. But is there also a change in demographics as well? There are some of the districts this time, Dr. Abhay Shukla, which were not there last time. And even within cities like Pune, there are newer parts where we are seeing higher cases. Now, why is that?
Yeah, so what you have said is broadly correct. In Pune city, for example, in the first wave, it was inner city areas, densely populated, lower income areas, which were worst hit. In this wave, In the second wave, we are seeing that at this point of time, out of the 206 containment zones in Pune, 173, which is 84%, are in buildings and colonies, not in low-income settlements and slums. Only 16% are in slum areas. So the susceptible populations which had accumulated or which had remained unaffected in the first wave are now getting hit in the second wave, and large numbers of these are in middle class or lower middle class areas. So this we need to recognize. The second point is that a lot of the transmission is intra-household. So we are seeing large clusters of households, the entire household coming down with COVID. One person gets infected through some channel and many other people within the household also get infected. Of course, this is happening previously also, but now that trend has been more. And thirdly, we see that now the epidemic has also penetrated to many rural areas, especially and certain newer areas, especially in Vidarbha region, which had not been affected to that extent. And Nagpur has emerged as the third major epicenter. So Pune has 59,000 active cases, Mumbai has about 46,000, and Nagpur has about 45,000. So these are and a few other urban centers also in Vidarbha have emerged as major centers. So in this situation, one thing is important is that we recognize that the new areas which are getting affected within cities need to be prioritized, and both containment measures and also testing and contact tracing needs to be stepped up in those areas. Secondly, it would be desirable to actually step up vaccination, as you mentioned in the beginning, in the discussion with Mr. Nawab Malik. What we are seeing in Pune is that vaccine centers itself can turn into transmission zones if there is overcrowding. We are seeing this in some of the areas that large numbers of people, including our elderly people, 65, 70-year-old people, crowding, remaining there for 2 or 3 hours in a kind of crowded situation, and that itself can become a risk. So we need to expand the number of vaccination centers. We know now that there's no very great medical kind of infrastructure required to give the vaccination. So if that is done and the vaccination is expanded, then we can minimize that kind of area risk of transmission. So that is another point. And a third point which I'd like to say is the second vaccine. The first vaccine is, of course, the COVID vaccine, but the second vaccine is much more effective communication to change behavior. I think that is a place where we have slipped up. The communication strategies of the government have been suboptimal in this second wave. In fact, we have not even told people clearly in explicit terms that this is a second wave. You need to be extremely cautious about what is going on. And, of course, lockdown is maybe a final option, but before we go for a lockdown, there has to be a very strong appeal to people that this is very serious. I mean, I remember in the first wave, police vehicles used to be roaming around with loudspeakers, appealing to people. Corporators were going into, slum areas, talking to, groups of people, or at least appealing. There was a positive outreach. This time also we need a much more proactive outreach, also through TV channels, through the newspapers, through the FM radio, through social media. A very concentrated and focused communication strategy is also necessary. That's why I'm calling it the second vaccine. If that is done very effectively, people will respond. These people are not, completely, foolish or insensitive, but the communication is very important. And if that communication is not there, then it becomes like fluctuating between a sense of complacency and a sense of panic. That, either nothing is happening, ya nahi to pura lockdown ho jayega. So I think if you want to avoid a lockdown situation, then that kind of much more, and the messages have to be more specific, you see. Very generic messages are not appealing. I mean, you keep saying the same thing 100 times, it's okay. But now, this is the second wave. Now household transmission is taking place. Home isolation and quarantine needs to be done much more effectively. Middle class areas are also getting affected. Younger people are also getting affected. These are the things that you need to do to avoid. Don't be hesitant about the vaccine, etc., etc. So specific, focused and appealing communication through a well-organized communication strategy with involvement of civil society organizations. And I can say that Jan Arogya Abhiyan and many other groups would be most willing to collaborate with the government in taking this message to the people.
Yes.
I think we have to convert it into a campaign mode of communication along with the vaccine campaign.
Oh, it
Both these campaigns
absolutely
together.
has to be a campaign mode, and if some amount of, even fear has to be generated just so that people start taking this seriously, start following the norms, maybe then that needs to be done as well. Dr. Lahane, in your view, basis, what we are seeing different this time around in terms of pace of infection also, the rate of infection this time definitely seems to be much faster than what was there the last time. How does that change a government's policy? How should it change our policy in how we deal with it?
Now, what we see this time is the infection is more faster because all the families, one person is affected, the families are getting affected. Secondly, there is a shift of infection. It means the younger, that is from 20 to 40 years, people are affecting more, and this is the floating population that is giving rise the more infection. Now, basic thing is why the infection is more. Now you see there is also demographic shift. You can see where there were the some districts where in the previous wave the people were not infected more, like you can say in the Vidarbha region. Now it is more in Vidarbha region. The secondly also in the Marathwada region, it is in Aurangabad or Nanded, it is affecting more. It means the wave is shifting. It is definitely in the area where the infection was not there. Secondly, if you see in the cities, the societies people are more affected than those who are, you can say, in the lower economic group. So this type of shift is seen here. Now, what is required? Now, what are the strategies? Strategies already started. So we are doing the strategies that from 8 to 7, the hotels and the places will be remain closed. Then 5 and more persons will can't come together. The person who is not wearing the mask, we will fine him 500 rupees. But all after that also in the rural area, the people are not wearing the mask or the COVID appropriate behavior. So for that also we are trying to tell them. I think on the TV we are going, we are telling them, district administration also the leaders, they are also, I think, people are there. They are also telling about the using of the mask. But all these things what we are doing in Maharashtra, after that also why the number is increasing? Number is increasing because the infectivity of the virus is more, and there is a this you can say in the whatever the virus was there, this virus is now the change in the virus, and that virus is more infective than the previous virus. So we are testing the genomes also. So we have got the two genomes in Vidarbha and also in the Pune region, which are more infective. So those are not like you can say Europe or Brazil or Dakshin Africa, but the different types of genomes. So that also we are studying, and now we are mapping all the Maharashtra. And in that mapping, what we are doing 100 tests each district, 25 per districts weekly, to know the sequencing and genome. So we will come to know what type of genome is affecting more in which district, so that we can take the precaution in that district. It means we are doing the mapping also. We are also taking care of this. You can say we are not, up till now we have not decided about lockdown, because our beds are definitely there today. In few, we can say like in Mumbai or Pune, in Nagpur, there or Aurangabad, there is definitely a problem in the beds. But in other districts, there is not major problems for that. So today we are not thinking of the lockdown, but we are thinking to increase the facilities, that is the ICU beds, also the ventilators, and also the policy to transfer. So that what is happening, patients are coming late, as these are the young patients, and after the fewer of 5, 6, 7 days, they are not coming to the hospital, and because of that, they are becoming serious. So that also we are making the policy to transfer, and also the policy of tracing. We have decided that there should be tracing of minimum 20 patients, so that the early diagnosis will definitely help us. Another, the home quarantine also. Now we are phoning each and every person, all the numbers of home quarantine people, we are phoning them, and we are asking them about the signs and symptoms, also asking them for the 6-minute walk test, and we are seeing the result. It means we are taking utmost precaution to reduce the death rate. If you will see the death rate in this new wave, it is only 0.3 to 0.4%, and total now it is reduced to 1.96.
You made a very interesting point as well, and I was going to ask, so thank you for, answering that as well, that in places like Nagpur, for example, people are going to the hospital very late. The younger guys who probably decided to stay home, self-quarantine initially, but their health deteriorated, and by the time they reached hospital, we're told that's one of the reasons why there is higher number of deaths happening in districts like Nagpur. But the other part that you spoke about, which is the genome sequencing, the different variant that we may have here. Now, Dr. Sanjay Pujari, repeatedly, every time there is a central government briefing, they are asked this question about the variants, and if there are variants now which have become cause of concern, or this double mutant variant and what it is. Can you help our viewers understand what's going on, and are these variants which are spreading faster specific to states like Maharashtra?
Right now, if you look at data released today by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, they have sequenced around 11,000 sequences, and they have found the UK variant to be the predominant variant. It's still constituting less than 10% of the sequences, but I don't know the time frame at which these samples were collected, so it may be reflective of some 1 or 2 weeks ago. But if you look at globally, and I've said this before, that most of the surges happening in countries like Europe or South Africa or Brazil has happened because of variants. And this, initially, when you start sequencing them, they form a significantly lower proportion of the total burden of infections in those countries. But as the epidemic progresses, you will have more and more patients who may have this will constitute the major proportion of the total infected individuals. So variants is a concern. We need to be very vigilant about it, and that's why they are called variants of concern. As far as UK variant is concerned, it seems to be the most predominant variant up till now, which is seen across sequences done in India. It's very clear that the UK variant is 60% more transmissible. There is a publication on that, as well as the idea that the UK variant is causing less mortality may not be really true. There's again another preprint publication. It's not really published in a peer-reviewed journal, and there is a Public Health England document which suggests that the mortality also may be higher. Now we don't know that, but at this point of time, but what we should understand is even if the mortality is not higher, there are two things. One is that even if it is a variant, what is going to happen is that your non-pharmacological interventions are going to be the same. You're going to use masks, you're going to avoid, public gatherings and things like that. So even if it's a variant, your public health messaging for prevention is the same. The second aspect is if it's a variant which is rapidly transmissible, and if you have a large number of patients, even if the case fatality is low, you would still have higher absolute numbers of patients who may be severely ill because there is a large denominator there, large amount of people are getting infected. The third concern obviously is immune escape of these variants. So if these variants escape the immunity that is built by either natural infection or vaccination, then that is something which is threatening. But fortunately, we have data now for the UK variant, which suggests that all the vaccines that are available across the world, including the Indian vaccines, have good efficacy against the UK variant. So immune escape is not possible with this variant if that is the major circulating variant. As far as a unique Indian variant is concerned, I think we need more data about that. Because when you talk about variants, what two mutations was mentioned from Bombay is actually a recombinant from the South African strain and a Californian strain. So unless and until we see more of that and we do a systematic study to map it out, we can't really say that this mutant is circulating in a particular geographic area. So I think apart from that, you need to link this with epidemiological studies to show that where cluster outbreaks occur, proportion of individuals having these variants by doing genomic sequence is higher as compared to where clusters are not there. So we can really, we need to do multiple studies to really prove this point.
No, so because I am trying to understand from a layman's point, why is it now we are being told, that by spreading faster, but in the same family, people are getting infected faster as well. Before you're able to sense it and isolate that one case or two case, 15 people have gotten it already. And that, I think, Dr. Pujari, will become a big concern.
Yes, so the variants, the efficiency of transmission of the variants can be judged in close congregated settings where you will have a super spreading event, and households is one of them. So in the households, it's highly likely that you're not going to wear masks, you're not going to follow these precautions, you're sitting together for dinner. That is where, and that is why you're seeing households getting infected, because there is a high secondary attack rate in close congregated settings, and that may be attributable to the variants efficiency, transmission efficiency, but we need to have more data on that. But I think it's quite likely that there may be a significant circulation of variants.
Okay, so here is my other question then. Does this, Dr. Naresh Trehan, should this change our vaccination policy as well? Why don't we open it up to more categories, at least in the worst hit places? We can't stop people. We don't want to stop people from, absolutely not stepping out. We don't want to shut down the economy. We don't want to shut down businesses. So people have to step out to some extent. Why don't we just open vaccine for all in these cases?
So, Tanvi, this is one of the weapons we have, and that's vaccine, and it's like not a cure. So the basic thing is two things. What is available to us in our armamentarium to deal with this very serious surge that we are seeing? One weapon we have all talked about, the vaccine, the fact that yes, it needs to be expanded but the limitation may be the availability of the doses. So if you see the rapidity with which the new categories have been added, it was not planned that 45 plus comorbidities will be added on 1st of March, and that 1st of April, that will be the next category. It was thought to be, it will take 2 months apart. So the government is reacting. That's one part of it. So testing and treating, or tracing and treating, is one part of it. Vaccination is the other weapon we have. But unless we voluntarily, in a modified fashion, lock down ourselves, it is every citizen's responsibility that unnecessary activity is to be avoided. And whenever you are doing that necessary activity, you can mask yourself and distance yourself. We did it for almost 9 months before. It's the last 3 months, 4 months that we have actually relaxed too much, and people have started feeling comfortable that the numbers are going down, and that's what the people perceive. One thing, full marks to all the scientists, all the leaders, all the doctors who have been tirelessly for over a year on TV. Thanks to you guys for giving the airtime. But are people listening? Now, what should be, so there has to be this appeal that we have been doing again and again, that this wave is worse than before. The numbers are doubling in half the time. If still people don't get it into their minds and head that, look, it is dangerous, we will have to face a severe lockdown. There may, at some point, if we keep going like this, there may not be any choice. If that happens, you can just imagine how everybody will get hurt, not only physically, but economically. Your whole families will get into serious trouble. So point is the message should be clear. It is serious. It is going to affect you. Do not think it's only your neighbor who's going to get affected. It's going to affect you in every possible way, including your livelihood. So if that's the message that people will get in a very strong way from, it is our responsibility not to sugarcoat it. Our message should be absolutely clear. We are saying on this show itself, we are discovering that there is so much we don't know about the virus. We don't know where it will take us. This is the first time that this kind of pandemic has happened in living memory. So knowing all that, we need to double up. We need to strap up and say, we are going to, in the next 3 months, break this chain. If collectively we can break this chain, we will then see the recovery very fast. If we do not, if we cannot resist ourselves from going and partying and going to nightclubs or going to bars, if we can't resist, we will pay a very heavy price. So I do not want to mince my words. I would say a straight warning. We do it. The government can just do so much. Vaccination will do so much. Testing and tracing and all those things will do so much. But ultimately, the most effective weapon we have against this monster is us.
Okay, fair enough. Absolutely, and that is, at least that part is in our control, and that part is, up to us completely, and we don't have to depend on a vaccine or the government to really figure that part out. But I just want to put this in perspective, why we have these experts tonight sitting with us, viewers, telling us that things are extremely serious. Why is it that the central government today said that things are going from bad to worse, and it cannot be treated as business as usual? Just one example on how quickly the cases are rising and the infection seems to be spreading. And I'm not going to compare it to last year, because obviously last year at this time we were in a state of lockdown. So the first 2-3 months don't really count in terms of spread of infection. But after we started opening up, June, July and August, and for a lot of states in our country, August is when we actually started seeing things pick up pace and then peak by October. So in the average cases per week, somewhere around the beginning of August, were 14,163. That this was actually at the end of August. The beginning of August, this average cases per week figure was 9,335 in Maharashtra. So from 9,335, we went up to 14,163. Now, if you look at the similar time band in March this year, average cases per week, somewhere at the beginning of this month, was 7,910. And now, by the end of the month, the average cases per week is 33,000. It's a 322% jump. Because obviously, everything is open. You're allowed to go anywhere. You're not wearing your mask. You're not following social distancing norms. You're attending gatherings and weddings and events. And that is what has resulted in this as well. So that, just wanted to put it in perspective and then ask Dr. Abhay Shukla this question, because you've done a lot of research and you referred to a mathematical model as well the last time around you were here, Dr. Shukla. Is there a respite in sight, or are things going to get worse before they get better? Is a lockdown then inevitable for Maharashtra?
Unfortunately, it is a grim situation right now, and the rate of transmission, as you have pointed out, is worsening, and we are still on the upward incline of the graph. And of course, one interesting point about this graph in the first wave is that it had a very sharp peak, in the sense that it rose very sharply until roughly September, mid-September, and after that, when the reversal took place, that was also reasonably sharp. So if that is of any consolation, but right now we're still on the upward part of the wave. So there is no scope for complacency at this point of time. Unfortunately, it is likely that cases will continue to increase until roughly mid to end of April. April is going to be a difficult month. April is a time when really we need to have be much more vigilant and put in place all the public health measures. And what Dr. Sanjay Pujari said is very relevant, that whether even if it is a variant, the non-pharmacological measures are the same. We just have to implement them more rigorously, more effectively, and universally. So I think in the month of April, according to whatever models that for Pune that we have available, April is going to be a difficult month. It's going to increase. Today in Pune city, the number of beds for ICU beds and ventilator beds, there are only 9 ventilator beds available at this point of time, which are vacant. Only 15 ICU beds, and the number of occupied is 814. So you can imagine that it's like 99% beds are occupied at this point of time. So it's we also need to expand the healthcare facilities. I think one very positive step taken by the Maharashtra government is that they have harnessed private healthcare facilities. They have declared that 80% of private sector beds will be brought under public control, a very positive step, and the private sector should cooperate with this. And we have to bring in all resources that are there in the society, whether public or private, to access care for COVID patients in this month of April. if we are able to do all the things that we have talked about. And another thing is universal adult vaccination should be the target, at least in the cities and areas which are more affected. Basically, we should spread out the vaccination to everybody, at least in the adult age group as far as possible, which will dampen, it will basically protect people from the severe forms of the illness. It may not have a very immediate impact on the epidemiological picture because that takes time for seroprevalence to go up or for immunity to be actually established, but severity of the infection can come down. And there is evidence that for people who have got the vaccination, A, they may not get the infection, B, even if they do get the infection, it is less severe. It is less fatal. So they are protected from the severe forms of the illness. So therefore, expansion of vaccination and having some sort of universal adult vaccination, at least in the high transmission areas, will be a second desirable objective.
Oh, yes, I completely agree with you. And, which is why I keep asking this to many experts. We even ask this to policymakers, that why don't we look at such a situation where at least, even if you say that in the first month or two, while you're building up your stocks, you don't have enough doses for entire country, but at least make it universal in areas which are badly hit, rather than going into a situation where you have to stay locked down. Dr. Pujari, what's your view at the pace at which Maharashtra is going? To break the chain, is a partial or full lockdown inevitable?
Yeah, I mean, that's a difficult question to answer. I can only look at from the scientific aspect of it. And that is, has lockdowns really helped in the world in trying to reduce the burden of infections? So there is conflicting data about that. And it all depends on the geography and the population density of each and every area where lockdowns are instituted. But overall, it looks like lockdowns may not really reduce the burden of infection, but may stagger. They may plateau the infection. So that gives an opportunity for the healthcare system to gear up and try to be ready when the peak really occurs, so that mortality can be kept low and people can recover from the illness. So lockdown is not perhaps a complete solution. You have to also weigh it against the livelihoods of people, because this is quite severely problematic from the economy point of view, and that has to be really weighed in. So rather than looking at a universal lockdown, maybe having micro lockdowns may really be the way forward initially. And I think the Maharashtra government has already started looking at that option and has implemented it, I think, in Aurangabad district today. So essentially, we need to have a graded approach and not kind of a very standard approach to lockdown. The second aspect about lockdown, and that is, if at all the government or the policymakers think about getting a lockdown, you have to remember that anywhere in the world, after a lockdown, there is a period of 2 weeks when actually the cases increase. And this happens because prior to the lockdown, there is an incubation period. And that is the reason why you don't see an immediate impact of lockdowns. So if at all we want to get ready for our healthcare system to gear with it, we should not impose a lockdown after we see fullness or full capacity of a healthcare being overburdened, but less than that capacity, and then try to, because you would expect an increase after 2 weeks of implementing a lockdown. So it's a difficult question, and it has to be weighed against various parameters before a decision is taken.
So for example, one parameter that I believe, Dr. Lahane, that policymakers, government and administrators will look at is the availability of healthcare infrastructure. And in that sense, again, already just Dr. Abhay Shukla was pointing out, in Pune, our reporters have said not just in Pune, but also in cities like Mumbai, we are reaching that saturation point in terms of availability of beds and ventilators. Now, we could increase some more in the private segment, but how much of it? And after that, perhaps we will have to look at this, a possibility if the cases don't come under control. I am completely out of time at this point, so I am going to thank all of the panelists who've joined us in this conversation. Viewers, very clearly, it's a big challenge and a big crisis for the entire country. Make no mistake about it, it's not just a Maharashtra problem. Maharashtra may be the epicenter of it, and definitely in a very dire situation. Now, multiple districts in this state already in a state of lockdown. And the government, state government, making it very clear that they are already working on an SOP, a plan to look at a partial lockdown with lots of restrictions for at least 15 days to be able to break this chain. So get ready. And honestly, we will have nobody else to blame but ourselves for landing in this situation. Our healthcare system has been expanded. We are now expanding it further. Our doctors have worked round the clock, round the year. Their any which is already exhausted. We are stepping up our testing and surveillance, but we need to take our own precautions. For example, we had a video that came out from Mumbai today, from Marine Drive, one of those places that when things were normal, people would go for their evening walks, hang around, chill, have a nice, pleasant evening by the seaside. People are still doing that now when we are registering 7,000 cases every day, and they're doing it without masks. So the authorities there actually caught a bunch of these people, made them squat, and then walk there. And I think these kind of visuals will be needed. These kind of examples will be needed to send across a message to people. This isn't a joke. It's literally a matter of life and death. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation.